Hi, this is Derek. Welcome. This is an online masterclass on publishing and writing books that sell. So we're going to talk about book marketing, book design, all sorts of other things. Hopefully you already kind of know who I am and my background. I put out lots and lots of free content, books, videos on YouTube, tons of blog posts and articles. I hope you've gone through my 5-day bookseller challenge. And that's probably how you have come to the point where you got the invitation to this live webinar. So I'm really excited that you're here. I can't wait to hear more about your projects. In this webinar, I'm going to try to, in about an hour, help you to overcome the main frustrations and challenges that I help work with authors to get over. Because it's not just about, once you publish your book, how do you get it out in front of readers? It's also, I've learned to a pretty significant degree about your confidence and the fears and the resistance and whether or not you do the work and feeling frustrated or overwhelmed. So I'm going to try to give you a lot of specific things you can use. You may want to take notes, but I'm also going to talk about, how to deal with writer's block or procrastination so that you can be more productive, more energized, more focused. It's not only about getting the work done, but feeling good and feeling happy about the work that you're doing. So that's kind of what this webinar will be about. I tend to overspeak. I have like 80 slides, and I'm going to try to get it down to about an hour. So I only really have about a minute per slide. I also wanted to say, if you've tried before, if you've already published a book and it just hasn't gone well, or maybe you've tried to write books, but you can never finish them, you just have a whole bunch of manuscripts in your drawer. I want to make sure you know that's not really your fault. That's the normative experience for most writers. And the reason is there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of advice that isn't really that practical. It's very motivating. It makes you feel good, but it has deliberate effects, which leads to, in most cases, frustration or feelings of fear or inadequacy, or possibly in spending a lot of money and not seeing results. So if you've made some mistakes before, I hope I'll show you a way to do things differently that will help you succeed faster. So if you're a new author and you're just thinking about publishing your book, in this masterclass, we're going to talk about how you can do everything right the first time, save months and months of frustration, save a lot of money that you would otherwise spend on things that don't work, and be profitable right off the bat. If you have published books already and you just aren't selling and you're not really sure what's wrong or how to get to that next step, this masterclass will also help you with stuff that you probably aren't thinking about yet. And specifically, if you need feedback, if you want to know why you're not selling, that's something I can really help with. Sometimes people email me and they ask me like, are you a real person? Do you answer your own email? It's really just me. I don't have a big team or anything. So I've actually decided not to make this a live webinar. Partly that's because I'm afraid if I have a big party, nobody's going to show up. I did that years ago with a Twilight party. I bought all of these costumes and I had flyers printed and I made this big. I get really excited about ideas and I just jump into them. But what happens is that nobody showed up to my party. So I was just there in a werewolf costume by myself and the DJ. The DJ came. I had to pay the DJ to play the party, but nobody else came, no other guests. So a big part of Guerrilla Publishing is validating your ideas and doing your research before you launch something or before you invest a lot of time and money on a project that nobody else is really interested in. The reason a lot of people prefer live webinars is because if you can get people in a live webinar, it's easier to close the sale and to get them to buy something right away. So I'm not a marketer. I've always considered myself more of a creative person. So I have a lot of content and value. There is a way to work with me directly if you need that later, but I'm not going to hard sell it or anything. This is just going to be an informative video. It's about an hour long. I want to give you as much content as possible. And because I'm not doing it live, that means you can pause it whenever you want. So you can take notes, you can take a break, grab a cup of coffee. I've had several cups of coffee. I've worked in publishing for about 15 years. So I've published a lot of my own books. I've also been a book editor and a book designer. And then I got into book marketing and helping people build their author platforms. But more recently, I've really wanted to switch to writing books that sell and earn money. So I've made money from Kindle directly from my books rather than, using my books to bring in clients or to sell other things. When I was younger, I got into painting. So I went to Malta first to study philosophy and discover the meaning of life. Then I went on to Italy and I was in Florence studying fine art and painting for a while before moving to Taiwan to get into the fine art world, kind of the Asian art market. So that's my background, but I found out selling art was really difficult. And I was also really curious about writing. So I got into writing. I published my first book, or self-published my first book. It was really bad. I did everything wrong, not only with the cover, but the inside and everything. So it was kind of embarrassing effort, and it actually made me give up writing for like 10 years. I went to Taiwan instead and studied my master's and my PhD in literature. So I really focused on the craft. During that time, I also started a book editing company because since I wasn't writing my own books, but I was getting my master's and my PhD in literature, I was a really good book editor. So that's how I started working with authors. Then I became a book designer, gradually a book marketer. Once I had all these skills, I decided, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing. I'm going to try to do it again. I rewrote that book. I relaunched it. I still made a lot of mistakes. And this time I did everything the way that people say you're supposed to do it. So I did all the research. I did everything the way, I followed all the advice. And I did a little bit better. I sold like 4,000 copies to a Russian publisher. And I got a lot of press, a lot of like major media focused on that book. But actually, like, even though it was successful, it didn't earn a lot of money. So when I finished my PhD, I still needed to make a living. My book wasn't enough to make a living. And so I went to a job interview at a university because I thought, well, I'll just get a job and teach English. Like, that's what I can do, is teach English. I've already been teaching English in Taiwan for a long time. But I went to this job interview at this really nice university, and they had a copy of my self-published book, and they were really kind of antagonistic about it. And it was clear that like I wasn't going to get this job because I had self-published a book. So they didn't take me seriously. They didn't think I had done a professional job. And that made me pretty determined to not work there. Even though they weren't going to hire me, I really decided I'm going to give this writing thing another shot. I'm going to write books that actually sell. But instead of just trying to do, whatever I feel like and whatever I'm passionate about, I'm going to focus on writing books that readers love. And this is also the big epiphany I had from my main platform, which is Creative Indie, just that you need to, if you want to make a living with something, you have to be providing value to other people. I'd already built a pretty big platform for publishing and book design and book marketing, but I didn't have any platform for fiction. So in 2017, I really struggled to finish and put out my first fiction, which was kind of a lifetime goal, but I just could never commit to doing it. So in 2017, I put out some fiction. I actually did pretty well. I built a pretty large platform quickly with some of the tips and tactics I'm going to share in this video, and I've shared in other places online. But that helped me to start actually earning money with my fiction pretty quickly, which is really exciting. And I kind of proved to myself that I could do it, as a career, not just as a hobby, or not just as something that I need to ask for support, but I could write books that readers enjoyed and were willing to pay for. And a lot of it is just doing research, doing keyword research and category research. If you do your keyword research ahead of time, it makes your stuff easier to get found. So when people are looking for something, your book shows up and you get free visibility. That's kind of what I focus on, is free organic visibility, as opposed to, marketing where you're putting your book out in front of strangers. I think if you can't convert someone organically without advertising, then you're going to have a trouble advertising. Some of my clients, they've been featured on Oprah. They've had New York Times bestsellers. One of my clients got his books turned into movies and video games. So of course results will vary, but it's actually pretty easy to get the orange bestseller tag and get #1. I've done this for hundreds of people. It's not that difficult, and it's not really enough. So I mean, I can definitely help you to get #1 and call yourself a #1 bestselling author. But what I really want to help you with is actually making money with your book. So books that earn money by themselves. That's kind of how my program is different. But again, it's not really about making money. It's about writing better books that satisfy more readers. So for example, these are some reviews I got just this week on my latest book. This was one that someone posted on Twitter before I even had the book out. So I was working on this book. I told some people I was working on a book. It's amazing to have readers so excited that they share, like before the book is out, they just share how excited you are. And then I thought this review was really funny because they called it a fantastic work of art. So I said earlier, I'm not trying to make art. I'm trying to, write commercial books that sell, but it's actually not a different thing, because the more I try to focus on creating, great books that readers love, they're going to appreciate it, they're going to enjoy it, they're going to be more willing to spend money. But I'm also going to get reviews like this. This is probably the best review I've ever gotten. So it's great to get positive reviews like this. And it's easier to get reviews like this if you're deliberately writing stories for a market. So I love my readers. I want them to love my books. But because I do my research and I know what they like, and I combine all the best stuff, this other review I thought was pretty good. So it's a mixture of the Selection, Hunger Games, and Twilight series. It's a nice, sweet combination of everything great. Some authors, they try to avoid tropes or cliches, and they try to make something that's totally different and doesn't have any story architecture. But the truth is, readers respond to story in a universal way, and they've been using the same principles of story for thousands of years. If you go back in Greek and study Greek literature, story architecture, there are ways to write books that satisfy readers. And I'm going to try to help you to use a certain kind of a structure so that no matter what kind of story you're writing, readers will like it better. You don't want to try to avoid stuff, but you also don't want to just copy. Like, I don't just copy commercial stuff and try to, you want to boil down the essence of the topic or the genre that you're writing in, read through the top 20 books and read through the reviews and see what people actually like, and then try to write something that's better than all those books. So you're not just, writing something quickly to cash in on a market. You're trying to write the best book in a genre by studying what readers actually like in that genre, by studying what they like and what they respond to and what they're saying, and being part of that conversation. It's just a matter of caring enough about your readers to know what they like and to try to write books that they love. So the other main point, I'm actually going to repeat this later, but the main principle behind Guerrilla Publishing is to publish profitably. And this is because the vast majority of authors lose money publishing. And that's why it's so frustrating that they finish this book and they spend a lot of money on publishing and marketing and advertising, and they don't earn their money back. So they have this expensive hobby. And if you have that, it's really easy to give up or to feel frustrated, or like you can't invest your time or energy on new book projects because your first book project was such a failure. So I'm going to try to help you avoid that. That's kind of like a process that most authors just go through anyway. You can definitely avoid a lot of that and start publishing profitably from the get-go, but you have to learn how to avoid the stuff that most authors do that just don't work. If you can make $1,000 a month in Kindle sales, that's amazing. And then you can scale it up by either making more products or building your platform or scaling up with advertising. So there's places you can go. But if you can't sell your book to anybody, if you can't even get 5 reviews, if you can't sell 100 copies, then you can't get up to this level. So I think selling $1,000 a month in Kindle sales is a reasonable goal for most first-time authors. That should be kind of where you want to set your intention in the beginning. I also think it's more manageable. If you set a huge goal, I want to sell 1 million copies, and then you fail, you feel frustrated because you didn't do as well as you were expecting your book. I think everybody expects their book to be this huge smash bestseller, but then they're disappointed when they can't get any traction. If you're just getting started, you may not have decided yet whether you want to do traditional or self-publishing. Self-publishing or indie publishing is what I recommend. That's what I do. It's mostly because I get 70% of earnings as opposed to like 8% with traditional. Also, just because it's faster. Traditional publishing tends to take a couple of years, not only, a couple of years of querying and getting tons of rejection letters, but then also, publishing. And a lot of authors, when they go traditional, they expect the traditional publisher to do their marketing for them, which is a mistake because then they don't build their own platform. They don't learn about marketing. And this has happened to tons of my friends where they have gone traditional and they didn't make any money. And there's this assumption, like a lot of big famous best-selling authors, they're not actually making a living with their writing because you don't get paid that much from traditional publishing. And that's why like all my friends who are actually making lots and lots of money, they're self-publishers, they're indie authors. Traditional publishing might be better for your platform or your authority, or if you have like other things to sell like coaching. On the other hand, a lot of people won't take you they won't be interested in your book for traditional publishing unless you already have a platform. So it's kind of a chicken and the egg situation where if you don't already have a platform or a big email list or a fan base, going traditional to build that fan base won't really work because most traditional publishers, they don't take risks on projects anymore unless they can expect the author to do a lot of the marketing. So the other reason I focus on self-publishing is because Not only is it really important for you to actually learn how to do this stuff and not just pass the buck to somebody else, but also if you want to be profitable and you want to make a living as a writing, it means spending less on your publishing and marketing than you earn. It's difficult to do that with traditional publishing because you can't control all of the marketing facets. Whereas if you self-publish on Kindle, for example, you can use KDP's, Amazon ads. Authors with books at a traditional publisher usually don't have that kind of control, and they can't even use advertising, which is why traditional publishers don't really advertise on Amazon, and indie publishers can basically dominate Amazon. So now I'm going to get into the actual 3 secrets. So this is kind of the step-by-step process I've discovered that I use in the Guerrilla Publishing system. And I used to just focus on kind of the marketing or what happens after you launch the book. But the truth is, if you don't write the right kind of book and you don't publish it the right way, it's really going to be difficult to do any marketing. Most marketing is going to be a waste of money if your core offer doesn't convert. So that's why I focus so much on, what happens before you publish. The first secret is just to write books readers love. And it seems like this should be obvious, like all authors, want their readers to love the books. The problem is this is easier to do if you do it on purpose. If you look for who your readers actually are and what they are actually buying with their money and what they're reviewing, and you read the reviews, if you do that kind of research, you know exactly what they want, then it's so much easier to deliberately write products for them that they're going to love. And again, this is the reason I'm going to talk so much about this is the one thing that I think most authors resist. They want to make a living with their writing. They want their readers to love their books, but they refuse to write the kind of books that their readers will actually like. They think it's more artistic to just write the books that they're passionate about and not to study, story architecture. They like the process of writing because it feels so mysterious. They don't know where it's coming from. Anyway, there are exploratory writers who just write for the sensation of discovery that they get. And that's why people love writing, and that's great. But in most cases, you're going to turn out a book that doesn't really have any structure. Readers don't really know where it's going. And if they don't trust that you're going to provide an emotional payout or an educational benefit, they'll give up really quickly. If they read the first chapter and they're not hooked immediately and they don't know where this book is going, they're going to give up. It doesn't really matter what you write in the last 5 chapters because most readers will never read them. So writing books readers love is just a process of learning the structure, learning like the universal principles for fiction and nonfiction, which always work. And then also studying your genre or your topic and making sure you know who your audience is and what they actually want. After that, it's published for free. And you can also spend money publishing. There's definitely ways, like there are things you should pay for, but I don't like saying that there's a cost to publishing. A lot of people will say like, you shouldn't self-publish unless you can afford an editor, which is like $1,000, $2,000, or you shouldn't publish unless you can really get a high quality cover design, which is at least a few $100s. So there are people who say, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. I don't think that's fair. If you don't have a huge disposable budget for publishing, I think you should be able to publish your stories or your books anyway. So I actually focus on helping authors to do it as cheaply as possible. I've done this with putting out, book formatting templates and tutorials or book design templates and tutorials because I'm not really designing books for clients anymore. I try to just teach people how to do it themselves. You probably, like, if you don't want to be a book cover designer, you're probably not going to, create a great book cover design. And it is hugely important to get right. But even if you don't have a huge budget, there are ways to do it cheaply and at least just test the market. Put your book out cheaply and see if anybody likes it. And also maybe build an audience until you get to the point where you can make lots of money with your books, and then you can afford to spend more on editors or book cover design or whatever. And secret 3 is just the book launch. So a lot of people are just interested in like, okay, I have the book, it's ready, but I don't know when to launch it or how to launch it or how to market it or how to promote it, how to build my platform. That's mostly what I've focused on. But I don't do it the way that most people do it. So I not only have a product that's, beautifully designed and immediately attractive to the right audience that they're actually going to enjoy, but I also try to focus on stuff that's more passive because I don't want to be spending all my time marketing my books. I want to build a platform that attracts my readers on autopilot so that I can be really casual about my book launch and not be all stressed out about it. And there are also two types of book launches, because when I started, I focused, it was harder. I didn't have a platform. I didn't have any fans. I had to spend more time and money trying to build a platform, trying to get my books out to people. And that's also why, I did a lot of free book campaigns. I've given away 200,000 books, but I've done that to build an audience. I did it on purpose, not to earn money, but to build my audience. So now I have an audience. When I do a book launch, I don't have to try very hard. I basically just send an email to my list and I can get to #1 really easily. So there's a big difference between, in the beginning, you want to be focused on audience building until you're at the point where you can focus on being profitable. And that's something we'll talk more about later. But if you can get these three things right, and if you can always do a little better with every book launch, with every book you publish, you get smarter about writing the right kind of books and publishing them well. If you're investing in your education so that you're getting better, if you're just outsourcing it to some marketer or publisher and expecting them to do everything, you're not really learning. So that means you're always going to have the same challenges every time you launch a book. If you're not building your own platform or your own email list, it's always going to be just as hard, and you're probably going to sink all your money into advertising. As opposed to with this system, it always gets easier because your platform's building and your knowledge and your experience. So it's not like something you just do once, but if you go through this process over and over again, every book launch should be easier and earn more money. Just like the more books you write, every book should be easier to write and should earn more because you're writing better books. Hopefully that's the case. It's not exactly that way. I think every book is always, writing a book is really difficult. It's always going to be kind of difficult, but you should be getting better by doing the same thing, by repeating the same processes. You should be learning how, what works for you to get the work done. So like I said earlier, there's a lot of resistance around secret #1. So I want to talk a little bit more about it. A lot of people say that it's selling out, or that it's, hack writing or something like that it's less valuable or less artistic. People assume that if they do it for their passion or their creativity, it'll be a better product that readers will like more. And that's not actually the case. These are what I call the 3 myths of passion. This took me a long time to figure out, but people assume if you write from the passion, if you focus on the craft, if you do what you're really excited about, then that will lead to better quality and it will be more successful. So most creative people, most artists and authors believe this about the process of creative production. And they think that if they have something of more quality, higher quality, then it will also have higher value. And the reason this isn't true is, for example, I was talking with a friend of mine and he wants to write those smart, creative nonfiction specialty books, like literary nonfiction. And a lot of authors want to write that kind of stuff because they want to be seen as like real writers or good writers or whatever. But the kind of people who read high quality literary fiction and nonfiction, not only are they much more discerning, but they also probably read less books. Those people tend to read maybe 5 or 10 books a year. And that means if you're writing those kind of books, you're actually writing for a smaller market. So you're deliberately creating a product for a smaller demand, to meet a smaller demand, which means, of course, you're going to sell less books. People who think that way often also say things like, well, I don't want to dumb down my writing, or I don't want to write to the lowest common denominator, which is what they think of commercial fiction or commercial nonfiction. But no matter what kind of books you write, your income will always be directly proportional to the amount of demand for those kind of books. People assume, however, that if they write for that market, if they write to try to satisfy the demands for a hungry market, then they are automatically giving up the passion. So people say things like, well, I could never do that because I wouldn't enjoy it. Or if I wrote to market, if I wrote to please an audience, then I wouldn't know what to write. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't enjoy it as much. People make these assumptions. And so they believe that value and passion cannot coexist, that you can't make something valuable and also make something that you're passionate about. But actually, you can still have passion in what you're doing. It doesn't change whether you're writing one thing or writing another thing. Just because you think about your audience and who's going to enjoy it doesn't mean you have less passion for your project. It's just about including more people. Do you want to just, be excited about your own thing by yourself, or do you want other people to be excited about it also? If you want them to be excited about it, you have to focus on the kind of value you are producing. One famous book that everybody loves is Think and Grow Rich, but a lot of people think it means just believe in yourself, like law of manifestation or law of attraction. Just believe your book will be successful and it will be successful. That can work in some cases, but it's always really going to depend on the amount of value that you're giving. And it says in like Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, it actually says, you know, if you want to make a certain amount of money, you have to give equal or greater value to that money. It's not just magic money that shows up. You can't just sell 1 million books. If nobody likes your book, if nobody enjoys reading your book and they're not interested in your topic or your subject, they're not searching for the kind of value that you provide, you're not going to sell that many copies. So it's just kind of a different way of thinking. You don't have to give up your passion. Of course, you should be excited about what you're working on. You just have to find a way to communicate your passion in a way that resonates with other people, with other readers, so that they can share in your passion. This is the quote from Think and Grow Rich. So I include it because I'm also in a kind of nonfiction anthology soon called Write and Grow Rich, where a bunch of authors are writing about different chapters about how we write for a living or how we make money with our fiction. And we're going to make a run for the USA Today bestseller list, which just means that we all help cross-promote this one book that we're all a part of. It's more like a community effort. It makes it much easier to hit the list. I've actually done this, I think 2 other times. I've already gotten books on the USA Today bestsellers list. But this is also really important in terms of readers and in terms of income. If you want to make a certain amount of money, you have to do the research. You can look up your genre, your books, find 10 other books that are similar to yours on Amazon, see what their rank is, and use a calculator to see how many books they're selling. Because often, like even if you have a #1 bestseller in a certain category, if there's not enough demand, you still won't earn very much money. You might sell, you know, a book a day, 2 books a day, and make a couple $100 a month, which is great. But you could very easily make 10 times that amount just by writing a different kind of book where there's more people who enjoy that kind of book. Or, for example, in some genres, the readers read faster than other genres. I said earlier, like in literary fiction or nonfiction, readers read less books per year. That's partly why I write young adult fantasy and sci-fi, because young adult readers read faster. So they may read, you know, 30 or 40 books a month. They just read, they consume books faster. So if I have books in those categories, there's a greater chance of them getting through those books and finding my book, because there's a greater, not only more people looking for those books, but they also consume those books faster. So because I want to make a living as a writer, and because I want my books to earn more money so I can just, you know, write more books, I do research and I figure out, okay, do I want to write, you know, a mermaid book and sell 1,000 copies, or a vampire book and sell 10,000 copies? Right now, a lot of my friends are writing reverse harem dragon shifter books, which sell crazy well. Actually, a couple years ago, I said, you know, this is the next trend. This is what you should write. I'm a little slower than some of my friends, so I'm not quite up on the trends as fast as I should be. But also, when you're trying to write to market, trends tend to stick around for a year or 2. You can definitely finish a book in a year if you set your mind to it. You can do it in a lot less. So don't worry about, you know, trying to shoot for a trend or a hot topic and missing it. Trends last for a long time. If something's popular right now, it's still going to be popular in a year when you finish your book. You just want to make sure you write the best book in that space that you can. So when I write books, I try to think about what's in it for them, which is just that nobody cares about you or your book unless you've already made them care. So we'll talk later about relationship building. If you can get them to like you and trust you and care about you, they're going to be much stronger supporters of your work. But it really depends on the book. If they didn't like the book, it doesn't really matter how much they like you, although it can be helpful. So anyway, I try to think about what's in it for them. I don't want them to buy the book for me, to support me, to do me favors. I don't want to ask people, you know, to support my writing career. I want to write books that they enjoy so much that they are happy to pay for. So this is a quote I saw recently from Author Earnings. Jane Friedman is really connected in the publishing space. She has a lot of good material. She wrote recently about how much authors earn. And she says, writers who want to make a full-time living either need to create an earning model that's diverse and multifaceted, which is patrons, grants, speaking, etc., or become attuned to the commercial market. And what this means is, yes, you can write books that don't really make money and then focus on, you know, courses or speaking or other things, or maybe doing something like crowdsourcing or getting on Patreon and getting your audience to support you. That's one way that I don't really recommend. I don't think that's a good idea because you're basically asking for favors so that you can do the work. And if you're doing work that nobody likes, that nobody cares enough to just buy the work, then you're doing something wrong. I'd much rather make work that people like enough to pay for. Then you don't need to ask for handouts or ask for support. You just say, hey, I have a new book out, and they'll go and buy it. That's not to say you shouldn't also do some of this stuff. You'll probably notice I write fiction and nonfiction. A lot of my nonfiction books, I don't focus on the earnings. I focus on, coaching or courses or products or templates or other things because it's more valuable to have an upsell or an offer. I have a lot of stuff, if you write nonfiction, about how to do that or how to do online business or how to use your book for lead gen. So you definitely can use a book to build a bigger business. But you can also just write commercial books, especially for fiction. You can just write books that sell and not do the other stuff. Because I know a lot of people, even people who write nonfiction, and myself included, like I don't really want to do speaking. I don't really want to, sell other things. I'd rather just be writing books and making a living from my books. So that's something that you can do. Another thing that I've learned is that quantity leads to quality. And this is something we recognize in almost every other field. If you want to get good at something, you need to do a lot of it to practice and get better. So there's this idea of the 1,000 hour rule, which just says, you need to spend a lot of time doing something and practicing so that you can achieve the level of mastery that it takes to be a professional. And I love this quote from Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic, which is a good enough novel violently written now is better than a perfect novel meticulously written never. And also perfectionism is just fear in high heels. I like these quotes because it's important to finish a book because you don't really learn about how to write a book or how to publish a book or how to market a book by studying it. You really have to do it and go through it and make mistakes before you get better. And a lot of authors, they'll use perfectionism as an excuse to not finish the work. They'll be like, well, I want to write a good book. I want to write a perfect book. I want it to be great. So they'll spend a lot of time procrastinating or avoiding or hesitating and not actually getting it out there, which just means you're not going to learn what you need to learn by not publishing. And also, if you spend 10 years writing one book, you're not going to be as good at writing as you would have if you spent those 10 years writing 10 books and getting more experience. It's better to finish some books and to have experience of writing full books than it is to, just try to write one perfect book. You don't learn to write a perfect book by doing it. You can't just learn something and do it perfectly the first time. What you have to do is do something imperfectly and being okay to do it imperfectly for quite a bit of time. If you learn how to create systems and processes that work for you, if you develop a long-term writing schedule, if you have an audience and you know what kind of books they write, and you outline, it's going to be so much easier to predict how long it takes to write a book. So I say like my first book took me 10 years to write. My next one took me like a year. Now I can sometimes write a book in a month, although usually I'm more like 2 or 3 months per book. That's something I'd like to get better at. And the truth is, you can write a book quickly by just cutting out all the procrastination. And if you get good at writing books, people talk about like cranking out books. It doesn't mean that you're writing crappy books. It means you're practicing really hard and you're writing books that readers like. You're experimenting. You're learning by doing. It's easier to get better at books that way, but writing is one of the only professions where if you write books quickly, people assume they're not good books or they're just commercial books. And there's even this thing where like if they sell a lot of copies or like review really well and readers really like them, if people like your writing, then there are some people in the industry who will say stuff like, well, that's not art, that's not high quality, that's just pulp fiction or nonfiction. So if you're already a little resistant to this messaging, it's probably because you think, you want to write really good, high quality books. So the hurdle I want you to, or the disagreement that we're having is just that I think you can write books faster that are of better quality. And I think if you make more money because more people are willing to buy the book, that also means you've written a better quality book because more people like it. That's kind of how I define quality. If we have a difference in definition on quality, that's fine. But I will tell you, it's easier to make a living as a writer if you have more books out. So if you're of the persuasion that you believe in writing books slowly and it takes you several years to write every book, that's okay if that's your process. but it will be difficult, more difficult for you to start figuring out how to write books that sell unless you can also be determined to improve your production speed. If you're still hesitant, I really like this quote from Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit, which is a book by Steven Pressfield, author of The War of Art. This is a really good book because it actually has a lot of tips on craft. And it's like every book should have this stuff, especially for fiction readers. But the idea is the same for nonfiction as well. If you want to write books that sell, if you want people to buy your books, then you need to be writing books that readers like, that they enjoy, that they value. I like to focus on value, on providing value, because if you provide enough obvious and intrinsic value and you position and package your books the right way, then you don't really have to do any marketing. So that's kind of what my whole system is about. It's why I wrote Book Marketing is Dead a few years ago, and why I wrote Guerrilla Publishing with a focus on the publishing part. Because if you're publishing books that have obvious value, you don't really need to do a lot of marketing. Your marketing is kind of built into your books, and it's so much easier to get your books to sell consistently and reliably if you're creating the right kind of books. If you're still not sure about all of this, you don't really want to write to market if you think that's selling out or whatever, that's totally fine. But you do need to learn enough to hold their attention and keep them reading. If you can't hold their attention, if they read the first paragraph of your book and they're not sold on the story, or they read the description of your book and they don't immediately want to buy it, if you can't hold their attention, then it doesn't matter what's in the book. You need to keep them reading and you need to satisfy them. If your book doesn't satisfy them, whatever they were looking for, if they don't get what they wanted out of your book, they're not going to enjoy it, they're not going to like it, they're not going to recommend it to other people, and they'll probably leave a negative review, or they'll leave no review. So what you really want to do is over-deliver whatever they were looking for, whatever you promised them, or whatever they were hoping to get out of your book, whether it was education or entertainment. You want them to walk away with like, wow, I got so much more than I wanted. This was amazing. I'm going to share this book to everybody. It was my favorite book ever. That's the kind of book you want to be writing. I don't really have time to go through all of this, but this is kind of stuff we've already mentioned before. The main thing is that you can still do all of this and have fun. You can still enjoy it. You can still be just as creative. I'm not less creative because I'm writing books for a market on purpose. It's kind of the same process. Writing a book is always fun and difficult and challenging. It's really just, do you want to do something that's fun for you, or do you want to do something that's fun for more people? It's a choice between value to one or to many. So if you can deliberately decide to give more value to more people, then it's going to be easier for you to earn a living. That's a choice you can make. I can't make that choice for you, but I hope that in this video, I'm convincing you that it's okay to at least try to make that choice and to do it my way and see kind of what happens. So we're finally on to secret number 2, which is publish for free or spend less than you earn. It's difficult to publish entirely for free, although it totally is possible. But the idea is you don't have to have a big budget to publish. And also, it may not be a good idea to spend lots of money on your first book. Hopefully, you've already seen my video on this in the 5-day challenge. There's the Booksellers 3-video series. And so I've already talked a lot about paying too much for some other companies and trying to be careful about avoiding scams. Sometimes it just feels like if this is really hard for me, or if I've been avoiding it, if I haven't done the work, maybe I just need accountability or a system or a coach or somebody to help me to finish the book. If that's you, it can be really tempting if someone's offering to just do the work for you for a whole bunch of money. But I don't think it's always a good idea to spend lots of money on your first book, because most books don't earn an income. So unless you've already done research and you know who your audience is, and you know who's going to buy the book, I wouldn't spend that much money to publish. I would try to spend less than $1,000 per book. You can get away with spending a couple $100s to get a decent cover and publish a book that way. And it can be really valuable to have that kind of support, to have someone who's there for you. The problem is a lot of those small presses or companies that charge a lot of money, they outsource the cover design. So often they'll have like mediocre but not super cover design or blurb or description. So even if they promise you a whole bunch of other stuff, if you don't really have a really good cover design, that's going to be the hardest hurdle for you. So you can spend a lot of money and finish the book and get a lackluster cover design, and then find it impossible to get any book reviews or to sell any copies. which is why I would be at least skeptical of any kind of a publishing package. You really want to look at their portfolio of cover designs. If their best examples aren't that great, that means that their average examples are even worse. And the danger with hiring a cover designer is that if you don't know cover design, you can pay someone a lot of money and then just tell them what you think you want. And most authors are completely wrong about book cover design. So you can tell a talented designer what you want on the cover and they'll make it for you and you'll be really happy, but it won't sell books. So you need a professional who will not make you what you want. You want a professional who actually knows what is going to sell for your genre. And that depends on the genre or the topic. And I have tons of stuff on cover design. I have tons of videos and resources and templates about cover design. So you really need to learn this stuff, because even if you spend a lot of money on cover design, it's not like if they screw up or if there's a communication barrier between you and the artist, they may be amazing artists who don't know how to make covers that sell. So that's really how I've branded myself differently. I charge a lot of money for cover design because I know what kind of covers will actually sell the book. But the main point here is don't just spend a bunch of money on a cover designer right away. At least learn the basics so you know what kind of cover you actually want and what's good and bad cover design, so that even if you hire someone or if you try to DIY or do it yourself, at least you can avoid making a cover that's just terrible. And by terrible, I just mean it's not obvious. So the book cover has to immediately communicate the genre and hopefully the benefit. So at least the title or the subtitle and the cover should tell readers exactly what kind of book this is, exactly what kind of genre it's in, and whether or not they're going to like this story. Publishing is really just about uploading your files to CreateSpace and Kindle. You need your book to be formatted for print and ebook. I also do this a lot. I can't stand formatting, so I try not to do it, but sometimes authors want a cover design and they say, oh, I don't want to hire a formatter, I'm just going to do it myself. But then they don't format the book. Your book has to be done well for print, which means footers and headers and margins and chapter pages and title pages. You have to learn about formatting to do it well. But you can totally format your own books for CreateSpace and Kindle, and then you need your cover to be designed. And that's a little more difficult if you're doing your own covers. To make a full print cover, you have to calculate the spine width after you've done the print formatting. There's a lot of stuff to learn. Even though I know how to do this stuff, I still usually outsource. Sometimes, I mean, I'd still do my own covers usually, but I'll often buy pre-made covers or I'll outsource the interior formatting just because it's a pain in the ass and somebody else can do it faster and easier and better anyway. But the nice thing about at least doing your own formatting is that, you know, after you publish, if you want to make updates or changes, it's really nice to be able to do that without needing to go back to the designer and pay them again or try to get in touch with the publisher and ask them to make changes. So that's one of the huge advantages of self-publishing, is that you have that kind of control. You can publish a book and then update it every year. Or if there's a typo or if readers hate something that happens, you can publish a book and still work on it after you publish. I also wanted to make sure to mention some of this stuff because what most authors want is that dream of being the author lifestyle, which includes certain things like speaking or media coverage or bookstores or signings. But most of that stuff is kind of just for show. It doesn't really actually sell books, at least not long term. This kind of stuff, like you pay to do it once and you might sell a few books to a few people who are in the room, but you really want to reach more people with less money. And you can do that if you do stuff with online stuff like Facebook advertising or organic visibility with blogging, guest posting, or Amazon ads. So you want to be able to reach more money with less time and less effort. More people. You want to reach more readers with less time and less expenses, because otherwise you're always going to be in the hole. You're always going to be spending time and money promoting this thing that's not actually earning money. So because this is what authors want, there's a lot of companies out there who will say, we'll do all this stuff for you, and you can spend a lot of money because they promise this stuff and it's what you think you want. But then you're not actually going to earn money from your books. You're going to do all this stuff and it's going to be fun and rewarding, but then your books won't sell. Your books will be like in the millions on Amazon because they didn't focus on the actual, building a product. Like I said earlier, they're probably not going to do a great job on the cover design or the formatting. And even if they do all of this stuff, that doesn't mean you're going to sell books. So I really focus on, don't do all this stuff that's time consuming. Focus on the stuff that has the biggest impact for the least amount of time or money expense. And the way to do that is to really just focus on the basics. So don't worry so much about, the marketing after the book is done. Focus on the book. Focus on, making sure you're writing a book that satisfies a particular audience, hopefully a big audience that's hungry for those kind of books. Make sure that your title and your description really hits the keywords that those readers are actually searching for. Make sure the cover is similar to, but better than all the other covers in the top 10 or top 20 of your category. If you do those things, it's going to mean that your book will sell more copies and, earn more reviews and do better with less effort. And that really just means you can spend more time writing more books. People talk about, like, do you have to spend 80% of your time marketing and 20% of your time writing? Most authors have to do that because they didn't write books that sell and because they're not building their own platform. They're just doing, marketing, like throwaway marketing or Twitter blasts or stuff that doesn't actually build their fan base. So I'm going to plow through to secret number 3. So launch number 1 with no marketing. This is kind of what my brand is all about, what Guerrilla Publishing is all about, because if you first build a relationship with readers, if you can get them on your list and you can introduce your work to them and you get them to like you and to trust you and to like your writing, then it's so much easier. Once you have a platform, then you can sell books without trying to sell your books to strangers. You just ask your fans to buy it. That's so much easier. It's a whole different ballgame. So that's kind of what I focus on. But also positioning, keywords, and visibility. Because if you create the right kind of product that exactly matches what readers are already searching for, you don't really need to do marketing or advertising because people just find your book and they buy it because you have content out there that shows up when they're searching for things. The first big step is be irresistible, which is conversion. So if you are getting cold traffic, which means strangers, onto your Amazon page or onto your book page, your sales copy, your cover, and your reviews have to be enough to convert them. Ideally, like, this is much easier if they're fans. You can just send them the link and they'll just buy it. But if you haven't already built up your platform and you've gotten them to trust you, maybe if this is your first book, you actually need your book page to convert cold traffic. And that's really difficult. You still need to know who they are, what they're looking for, and you need to show up. And that's something else. That's visibility, which we'll talk about later. But your main core assets are visibility and conversion. So you need to show up and get seen, and you need people to want to buy your book. And that's just going to be the cover and the blurb. That's difficult. I'm still getting better at this. I often change my covers. I go through like 5 or 10 different covers just to find which cover performs the best. This is also why it's so great to self-publish. I can publish a book with one cover and then change it a month or two later and see if my sales increase. And I want to be relentlessly experimenting with my covers, with my blurb, until I find what really converts well. Because once my book is actually converting well, then I can afford to spend money on advertising or to drive more paid traffic. But if my book isn't converting well, I can't scale. I can't grow up. And most authors, when people ask me, why isn't my book selling? Almost always it's an ugly cover, or it's a cover that doesn't attract the right readers. The blurb is just okay. By blurb, it's just like description of the book. That's kind of a science and an art. It's difficult to make your own. Sometimes you want to help or get outside help or get some feedback because it is really important. But then also the reviews. And we'll talk more about reviews later. It's easier to get a lot of reviews if you build your author platform or you build your email list, which is why that's one of the main things that I focus on and I help authors with. You can test conversion by, for example, running Facebook ads and sending traffic to your Amazon page and just seeing if people buy the book. So if you get like 100 clicks, if you pay for 100 clicks over to Amazon and you only get one sale, then you have like a 1% conversion rate. So you do want to kind of test that out and buy some traffic to send them to your page so you know if anybody is buying, and you need to be sending the right kind of traffic. But once you do that, you can try to improve your conversion rate by uploading a better cover, by testing out the blurb, and by getting more reviews. Often authors, they have less than 5 or 10 reviews and they wonder why they're not selling. You need, unless you already have a big platform or fans who are going to buy the books anyway, you really need at least 10 reviews before you even start doing your book marketing. So if you don't already have the reviews, that's going to be your sticking point or the main thing you need to overcome. Once your conversion is really good, then you can focus on visibility. And there's always kind of a balance between driving traffic and improving your core offer. But if you can get long-term organic visibility, which just means when people search for things on Amazon or Google, your content shows up, your blog post or your guest post, or just your book on Amazon, or like Goodreads lists always show up no matter what kind of book you're searching for on Google. The first couple of results will be from Goodreads. So you want to make sure your book is on those Goodreads lists for those categories. Or if you Google your keywords and you look at the first, 10 results, you want to see what kind of blogs or websites those are, what they're talking about. And you want to either see if you can get onto those pieces of content or those websites or those blogs, or just write the same type of content but better than anybody else is doing. Basically the best stuff on the internet. You want to be writing those kind of things. So not only do you know what your readers are searching for, but you're showing up and you're getting found for the things you're searching for. If people are finding your content, then that's free marketing. Then you don't have to spend money on visibility or advertising. That's just people finding you. And that's the only way to really have long-term, evergreen, organic sales. So I think it's important to try to focus on organic, free visibility with stuff like blogging first to build your platform. And also, once you can test out and make sure that your book is converting well, then focus on advertising. That's when you can really scale up faster. I also have something on here. That time I got trolled up by Microsoft. On Twitter, I made some comment about a PowerPoint for a presentation on publishing I was doing, and Microsoft actually replied to my Twitter account with kind of a funny joke and an infographic, which was just kind of really interesting. So people who are searching for the keywords for Microsoft are using the keywords or the hashtags that's related to Microsoft Business. Microsoft is paying attention to those things and they're involved in the discussion. So no matter what you're writing about, whether fiction or nonfiction, you want to be in the conversation when people are talking about the search terms relevant to your field. So I used to say book marketing was just about visibility and conversion. So getting seen and then having your core offer strong enough to make the sale. And that was the only thing. That's kind of the whole formula. But I figured out this year, actually, there's a whole different part, and that's reader seduction. That's building a loyal tribe of readers, because the more you have fans who actually like you and know who you are, the less you need to do to reach them and also to sell them on the book. You can just say, hey, I have another book, and they'll buy it. You don't have to convince them to buy it or warm them up, because they already know that you're a good writer. They already like your books. I already talked a lot about list building, so I use book giveaways to get a targeted list of readers. So I'll give away a package of 10 paranormal romance books. I'll target with Facebook ads all of the authors who like those books. I'll set up like a giveaway with King Sumo or my own book giveaway app. And then I'll share it, and I may tag those authors and say, hey, I loved your book so much. I'm giving away a copy to my audience, to my readers. Thanks so much. And they'll probably share my book giveaway with their audience. So this was a great way to build a really big email list of readers who like a specific type of book. The problem is I was building really, really big email lists, but I wasn't warming up that audience. So they signed up for free books or free stuff, but they maybe didn't really know who I was. They maybe didn't like me or care about me so much. And I've learned this year, it's not enough to get them on your list. You really have to deliberately build your relationship with them. And this is really independent of your book. Your book, or the quality of your book, or how much they like your book, that's a whole different thing. And what you can actually do is, at the end of your book, you should have an author's note, because when they've read your book, maybe they like the book, but they don't really care about you yet. So the author's note is a really easy way to, before you give them an offer to get them back to your email list or whatever, while they're still, like, so far they like the book, but they don't know you yet, you need to give them a story about you and why you wrote this book and how the creative process that went behind it. You're kind of transitioning them from readers of the book to fans of you as a writer. That's something you can do with an author's note at the end of your content of your book, which I think is a really good idea. You should also have a lead magnet, which is just like an offer to get something free on your website, a content upgrade, people say. For fiction also, this could be, get the first chapter of book 2. This could be like get my starter library or get a free prequel. I have other videos on like what kind of content bribes or opt-in offers you can give. But the idea is you want to be building your email list and then you want to be building a relationship with the people who sign up. And you can do that with a really well done autoresponder, which is just an email series, a free email series that goes out automatically to your audience. So the great thing about this is you can be getting people to sign up to your email list, and then if you have a really smart autoresponder series, that's all going out automatically. So you're driving engagement and you're building relationships without you actually needing to, communicate with readers one-on-one. A lot of authors are actually really resistant to this, and I probably was for a long time. Like, I don't know who my readers are. I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know exactly how they found me or what they think about my books. But I'm learning a lot about how to do this well, because I know one of the most valuable things for my author platform is an email list of really engaged fans. So not just people who will download my books for free, but people who will buy my books for themselves and then buy 3 more copies to give to their relatives or their friends. If you can create that kind of fan base, so they're not only supporting you because they like you, but they love your content, they love what you do. You don't have to ask them for favors. They love to review your books. They love to share your books. That's so valuable. That just means you're going to be reaching more people for free with less time or money spending on book marketing, which again is why it's so important. So rather than, investing in book marketing, I invest in making sure my conversion is really good, getting as much organic free visibility as I can with the right keywords and also with organic strategies, and then also building a really loyal tribe. So I've put a lot of effort this year into this part, and I also have gotten really good at teaching other authors to do the same thing, because this is what most authors just aren't doing. They're not doing well, either because they don't know how or because they don't want to. They don't know how to build an autoresponder. Maybe you haven't started building your email list because you don't know what to offer them. And even if you have an email list, maybe you don't know what to talk about or how often to email. But it is really important. So this year I've really focused on this aspect, which is kind of like the third major part of your author platform that most other book marketing coaches or courses, they don't even talk about. And it's such an important thing. They might talk about building an email list, but they don't really talk about what to do with it or how to engage your fan base or how to turn them into freebie seekers or from freebie seekers to actual supporters. So I did say I wanted to get into some real specifics. So this is kind of my book launch roadmap. This is always something I'm kind of experimenting with and getting better at. It also changes because in the beginning, I really focused on building a platform. Now when I launch a book, I don't have to do most of this stuff, or I can do things differently. Like I used to do mostly launching for free. I would launch shorter free tasters or free books, perma-free, which just means you put them up on other platforms and then put them on Amazon and have Amazon price match to free, because you can't post a book for free on Amazon's platform, but you can on iBooks or Kobo or other things, and Amazon will price match it. So that's how you make a book perma-free. You can do that so that you reach a lot of audience or readers without actually doing any marketing. So I did that because then I didn't have to spend any time or money or effort trying to reach readers. I just had these free books out there attracting the right readers to me and introducing them to my writing. I still try to do that. I always try to have a few perma-free books out there which lead into my funnel. And then I try to, once they're on my list, warm them up, offer them more free books, try to turn them into real fans. And then I can just, in the future, I can just ask them to buy books when they're out. One of the things that works really well, though, is list trades with other authors, which doesn't mean you're trading lists. It just means I will promote one of my author friends' new releases to my list and say, hey, this is a great book you should check out. And they'll do the same for me. So you only want to do that with books that you've kind of vetted. You don't want to recommend things that aren't of good quality. So if you can make friends with other authors in your genre, which you should really be doing, that's also one of the reasons I do the book giveaways, is because then I'm providing value for those authors and I'm making content that promotes and features those books, which is really important because it also improves your also bots. So your also bots are the things on Amazon. Under every book, there's other books that readers have also bought. This is using Amazon's algorithm to promote your book naturally, and you really want to be in as many also bots as possible. The way to do that is to not just recommend your own book, but to tell your readers what other books you think they should read that are similar to your books, because that will help. Not only are you helping the other authors that you're promoting, but you're also helping your own books because you'll be improving the also bots. You can give ARC copies, which is advanced reader copies, with InstaFreebie or BookFunnel. Those are two different platforms that allow you to share free books. I have a newer system now because I don't, if you're in Kindle Unlimited, which I choose to be in Kindle Unlimited because I earn more, that means you're getting paid per page read as well, because you're getting borrows from people who are in the Kindle Unlimited system, but it's a 3-month exclusivity program. I prefer it and I recommend it for most authors because you're going to see more value and it's going to be easier to keep your book ranking really well on one platform. It's more difficult to earn more money if you have your book in all the other platforms, unless you already have an audience. Having your book wide, which means having your book on all the ebook platforms, that sometimes makes it easier to get promotional deals like BookBub. BookBub is the most powerful book promotion service. They have a unique lists for every genre and topic, but it's getting more difficult to get those anyway, and it's really better to just build your own platform so you have your own email list that you can email. What I usually will do now is put a book up on BookFunnel to send it out to my ARC readers or my street team. That just means it's a really easy way for me to give the book files to them. Otherwise, I have to, send it by email or send it to reviewers one by one or set it up on my blog somehow. All this does means I can upload the files to BookFunnel and just send everybody to that link. And I can say, how many downloads this is going to be. If I only want to give out 50 copies or 100 copies, I can limit the number of downloads. But this is just kind of an easy way that people can download my ARC copies. So it's a way I can share my books to readers. But after I launch the book, I'll probably remove it from BookFunnel and I'll put it in Kindle Unlimited instead. If I had enough time, I would put books up on pre-order. If I had enough time, I would also get reviewers to post early. They can do that. If you put your book up on pre-order on Amazon, you can do it for 3 months. On iBooks or Kobo, you could do it for, I think, up to 6 months. I just do it on Amazon. It also helps me to finish the book. So I'll put up a book on pre-order in a month or two, and that'll force me to finish the book. That's been really good for my personal productivity and motivation. Otherwise, it's difficult. If I have, too much time and no deadlines, I could just spend a lot of time on the book. If you have the ebook up on pre-order, you can also publish the print version and then upload a new version of the file to CreateSpace and not approve the proof, which means it will show up on Amazon because it was for sale, but it's not for sale any longer, but people can still review it. So because the ebook and the print version are connected, that's one way that you can get your ARC readers to leave reviews on Amazon for your pre-order, during your pre-order. I usually don't do that because I'd rather just put up the ebook and make sure that it's good and people like it and make sure we get rid of all the extra typos before I commit to making a print version. That's also a way I can launch the ebook and then a couple months later I can relaunch it and say, by the way, look how pretty the print version is, or the print book is now ready. So I don't really get the reviews on the pre-orders, but you can if you want to have a really strong launch. So the problem is you can't just set a date and launch it and try to get all your reviewers to post in the first couple days. And a lot of ebook promotion sites won't accept your book unless it already has 5 or 10 reviews. So it can be difficult to just have a hard launch. That's why I usually will soft launch it. I'll put the book up on pre-order. I'll tell my list about it. Ideally, you would want to boost pre-order sales with launch bonuses. So I would say, get an extra chapter or get a deleted scene or something if you buy it at full price on pre-order. That's something you can choose to do. This book launch, I'm launching at full price, which I think is $2.99. I'll wait a few weeks and then I'll do a 99-cent deal because I really want to hit the majority of my sales. I want to hit it pretty hard in the first month, because if you do it in the first month, you get into the hot new releases on Amazon, which is important for visibility. And also you want to make sure Amazon knows this is a good book, people are liking it. So I want to be driving a lot of sales in the first month. I can either do that with my list. I could also be doing it with marketing. So some authors, they spend a lot of money on advertising, maybe $1,000, people say, on advertising the book on Amazon ads and Facebook for the first week, especially because those also bots are so important down here. So you really want, if you can advertise your book to the right readers, and the right readers who also buy other similar books, if they're buying your book, even if you're kind of breaking even or even if you're losing money, you're training Amazon that your book belongs, or your book deserves to be shown to those readers. Amazon's also keeping track of conversions. which is kind of interesting. So you don't, like, if you send a whole bunch of traffic to your Amazon page and they don't buy it, you're teaching Amazon that people don't like your book. This is also a problem, like if you write fiction and nonfiction under one platform, because people may follow you on Amazon, and Amazon will send out an email to your followers saying, hey, this author has a new release, maybe you should buy it. But if they followed you for your nonfiction stuff and now you're launching fiction stuff, it confuses Amazon and your readers. So Amazon may try to promote you to somebody who they think your book is about, but those readers aren't the right audience, so they don't like it, and Amazon learns not to promote your book. So when you're launching a book, you need to be pretty specific about who you want Amazon to show the book to. And you can either do that by having a very targeted, relevant list or audience of your own, and or be advertising specifically to readers who like a certain kind of book. So I could be advertising my vampire dystopia to people who like Hunger Games or The Selection, especially with, I could advertise people who liked specific authors. So people who like The Hunger Games, I could advertise to them, and my ad copy would be, if you like The Hunger Games and vampires, you'll love this book. So you can get very specific with Facebook ads and Amazon ads about who you're showing the ads to, which will be really good for your long-term visibility, because these also bots are really important. So normally I would do a big free campaign. I would be in KU. With Kindle Unlimited, you get 5 free days. So I would do a really big free push to get my book out to as many people as possible, which will give me a lot of reviews. If I give away, 5,000 copies, I'll start getting a bunch of reviews. That's why I have so many reviews on my books. And when you have more reviews, you can, charge more and start earning. If you can't convince anybody to buy your book, then pricing isn't really the issue. People should want your book. If people already want your book, then the difference in price isn't really a big deal, and you can charge more. Now, when I launch books, I can more and more just launch them at full price. I may do a 99-cent discount sometimes to reach a new audience or to incentivize more readers to buy it. But I don't really need to do the free books anymore because I already have a big platform. When you're starting off, this is your first book, you probably want to think of something that you can give away for free, even if it's not your main book, even if it's just a short teaser, like 5,000 or 10,000 words, something else that you can make perma-free, or you can make your lead gen offer on your website. So those are the main things I do to publish and market my books, and hopefully that will get you started. If you have the right core offer, if you build your audience, it's going to be a lot easier for you. But I also want to focus on what comes next. So I talked about my 3 secrets, which is really just about writing a book that sells, publishing it without spending too much money, and publishing it well so it attracts the right audience, and then also launching it, which just means getting it out to the right people. And if you do a successful launch and you're kind of training Amazon what kind of readers like your book, and you're getting the conversion from the right kind of readers, and you're populating your also bots, if you do everything right, then your book will just kind of stick and keep selling. That's your goal. What happens if you have the right book that's exactly what readers are looking for, it should kind of just take off and sell itself. You generally need to do some kind of a push when you launch it, and you'll be getting better about writing the kind of books and positioning them and building your audience, so it should get easier and easier. And that's basically all you need. But I really wanted to talk about the next step. So this is kind of the bonus. So after you've figured out how to write books that make money, and you're actually earning a profit with your books, which is a huge step that most authors never reach. Once you're at that level, then you can scale up. So then you can start to think about, okay, my books are earning money. How can I do better? How can I improve? You can't really fix anything unless you can measure it. So for the vast majority of authors, they just have books that aren't selling at all. They have no platform. They have no idea how to reach their readers. They don't know what's going wrong. And they can't earn any money. So no matter what you do, it's all just guesswork or throwing money away, and they can't get any traction. But let's say you're at the point where you are a great writer and you understand what the audience wants, and you've done your research, and you've seen some success. Then you can start thinking about how to scale up. So this is kind of where I am at the process of right now. I know that my books sell, but I have to get better about finishing more books. So my problem is, I wanted to finish like 12 books this year. What happened was I finished one in like February, and then I got depressed, which is kind of what happens after you finish a book. That's kind of part of my process. You finish something and you feel this kind of depression sink in when you have finished a giant work of creative fiction or nonfiction. If you've been working on a project for months and months and months and you finish it, it's a little unrealistic to just bounce back and start something new and be productive right away. So I was trying to do that and I failed, and then I felt bad. So then I just watched Netflix for a month. And then 4 months went by before I finished the next book. So if I could finish 2 or 3 books a year, that would be okay. But I would make so much more money if I could write faster. And again, this is basically all I'm doing. This is full-time writing. You should be able to write books faster. If I can write a couple thousand words a day, like 2,000 words a day, in like 4 hours, if I write 500 words an hour, which is not, impossible. That's a pretty slow rate, actually. If I can do that consistently and write a couple thousand words a day, I could have a 60,000 word book every month. If I had a process down, I can put out more books. So I'm not sure if I'll ever get to a book a month because my books tend to be a lot longer. My novels are like 100,000 words. But this is also something I can get better at. I can get better at productivity and motivation. I can notice why I'm wasting my time or where my resistance comes up and what to do if I don't feel like writing. That's kind of what I'm focused on this summer. It's writing under the influence, which I thought was, for example, I thought it was just drinking a lot of coffee or getting really excited or getting hyped up to write. I'm finding that, it's also about your lifestyle and your mindset and your energy levels and how you feel about what you're writing. So I'm finding ways to really boost these three because I know, the faster I can put out new books, then the more money that I'll earn. Most of my friends actually who are making lots of money, they focus on ads. So they got really good at Facebook ads or Amazon ads. And this is difficult if you don't have a product that converts. And it's generally difficult to run ads for a low priced ebook. If the ebook is, $2.99, you need really good conversion or you won't be profitable. If you're not profitable, you can't scale up with ads, which is why I focus on platform, organic platform. It takes longer, but it's more stable and it's long term. And really you can do both. There's no reason not to do both. Once you have really good converting products, then it's much easier to run ads profitably. Also, if you finish a series, you put together a box set or you have a higher priced product. I have a lot of friends who have a box set of 5 or 6 books together. It's a $10 product and they can they can basically outbid everybody else because their product value is higher, which means they show up everywhere and they make lots and lots of money. You can also do this with nonfiction though. I have another friend who has one nonfiction book and it sells for $12. So he can outbid everybody else and just spend lots of money on ads and still be profitable. So if you have a great product, advertising is awesome and you should figure that out. But it's also really great to build your own platform and your own email list because like I said, that's when you have the opportunity to build a relationship with readers. And ultimately those an active fan base that's engaged and eager for your market. They're going to share your value. They're going to share your books and review your books. That's also really important. So these are the 2 main things that I focus on when you want to scale up and go bigger. So if I had to kind of sum up everything in the Guerrilla Publishing program, I would probably do it in these 5 things. So these are the 5 core things you need to sell books. You need a book that readers love. You need packaging and design that attracts your audience. You need a keyword-rich blurb that converts. This is always kind of a balance. You don't want to keyword stuff, but you will get more organic visibility if you have the right keywords in the right places, which means you need to spend less on marketing or advertising. But you also need a really tight blurb that gets people to want to buy the book. That's really difficult to do by yourself. Everybody complains about, even really successful authors complain about how difficult it is to write your own blurb. So there's Facebook groups where you can get feedback, or there's services where you can get help, where people will take your blurb or help you to write a blurb. It is really important to get right, and it's really difficult to do yourself. So that's something you really want to focus on. Also, an email list of supportive fans. This is the other thing where a lot of authors do some stuff like this. They do email list building. They build a big email list, but they're not really supportive fans. They're not building the relationships. That's something else I really focus on recently, especially, and I'm still getting better about this, is writing an autoresponder series that converts your readers on autopilot so that, the stronger you can turn them into supportive fans who like you as a person, that's just going to make everything easier for you. You'll have to do less effort and work to market your books when you have new releases. And finally, you need, once you have everything right, then you need the visibility. So the problem is a lot of authors, they're searching for book marketing, and what they're looking for is the visibility. And that's a problem, because if they don't have a book that converts, or they don't have a book that attracts the right audience, they can get all the visibility in the world. And actually it'll help a book fail faster. Like it'll help a book get more negative reviews or get more criticism. If they don't have a book that is great and satisfies readers, it's not going to be successful. Of course, you want as much visibility as you possibly can have, and you probably won't know if your book cover or blurb or you may not know. Like, it's difficult to judge that yourself. So if you're doing everything yourself, you may think your cover is amazing, and you may not understand why nobody wants to buy your book. Maybe you're just targeting the wrong audience, and that's fine. That happens sometimes. But if your book cover isn't attracting the right audience, that's already a mistake that you need to fix. More visibility is not going to fix the core problems. But once you have the core stuff, you have a good book, you have a great cover and blurb, then you can get more visibility with a blog or website or guest posting or by advertising. Something I just started realizing this year, though, is that it's not really about the knowledge. Not only is there's so much stuff for you to learn how to do. It can be really overwhelming to, there's all this different advice. Which one should you do? Where should you get started? What if you don't know how to design a book cover or how to set up a website? You don't know how to do this stuff. I've always focused on the content and like the how to do, but I'm realizing there's a whole bunch of other stuff behind the scenes that's just as valuable. The confidence that you can actually do it, that you can be successful, the accountability, having someone check in or having deadlines or having somebody else know what you're working on, just so that you have someone else involved. Also having expert support. So if you get stuck, which is always something that happens, you get stuck and then you avoid whatever you're frustrated with. Maybe you try, for example, for me, it was book formatting. I knew I had to learn book formatting, but it was hard. I didn't understand how to make an ebook. It was all like HTML and code and stuff. So I basically just didn't do anything for a few months. I finally had to make myself master it. But I did it by just buying a course and having an expert teach me how to do book formatting. That ended up, now I can do my own book design. It saves me a lot of time and money. It gives me more control over the marketing. Sometimes you just need help to learn the thing that you have to learn so that you can move on. It's also really valuable to have a community of other writers, not only cheerleaders. I was at a talk with Jonathan Fields recently, and he was talking about the 5 types of supportive people you need in your life. And a couple of them were cheerleaders, people who believe in your project and they're passionate about it, and also co-creators, other people who are also writing things, other authors who are also writing fiction or nonfiction, people you can talk to, people who get the writing process, because it can be really isolating and lonely to be, spending months in your room by yourself working on a book, and nobody really gets how hard it is or what you're trying to work on or what the struggles are. So to have a community of other authors who have a lot of experience publishing books, so when you get stuck in the middle or you have this weird problem, you can get help and you can have someone who understands what you're going through. And then it can also just be really helpful to have a coach or a guru or someone who's just further ahead on the road. So if you're doing all this stuff for the first time, if you have someone else who knows what they're doing, it can just save so much time. So for example, I've made 1,000 book covers. I can tell very quickly what's wrong with your cover and what kind of cover you need to attract your audience. Because I've been doing it for a long time, it's easy for me. But you may not want to spend 10 years learning how to do book cover design. It's so much easier just to have someone who has that kind of knowledge or experience to tell you what to do or what to fix or what to change. So I've gone through kind of the 3 secrets to Guerrilla Publishing. And this is the same strategy. I'm kind of slow. I'm doing okay with my books, but I seriously have friends who have been publishing for a while. Maybe their first series wasn't successful, their second series wasn't successful, and then they started to do some of this stuff where they started looking at the market first, identifying trends or tropes or what's really popular, and suddenly they write books that all of a sudden everything is so easy and they're selling so many copies and they're kind of like amazed. I've seen posts like, wow, I'm in the top 1,000 on Amazon, I'm top 500 on Amazon. So this stuff definitely works. Not only can you get to number 1, but if you do this stuff, if you learn this system, it just is so much easier. You don't really have to do the marketing. You can just write books that sell. So I built tons of resources. I actually invest almost everything I make into DIY templates or resources or tools for authors. I like building that stuff because I really want to help authors do it themselves, publish cheaply, figure all this stuff out, and see success. I don't want to see the majority of authors spend way too much money and then they're frustrated because they don't make any money back or they can't build a platform. I try to spend a lot of my time helping authors to get over that hurdle, or so that they do build an audience, or so that people actually read and enjoy their books. There's a lot of scams out there. Unfortunately, it can be really difficult to learn all this stuff on your own. There's so much to do and to learn. It's easy to make mistakes. Most authors fail for years before they finally figure out what they need to do to sell books. So I've also started putting out online courses. And Guerrilla Publishing is my second online course on book marketing specifically, but I'm building a lot of new resources that I know are really going to help authors to fix some of the other things I mentioned in this video, like the confidence or the accountability or the motivation. Like I said earlier, originally I just focused on, book marketing or launching, but I figured out that that's difficult for me to help people with if they didn't write a book that's really going to satisfy readers, and if they didn't put the right cover on it, there's not going to be very much I can do. Even if I teach them everything I know about book marketing, it's not going to solve their core problems. And so I really wanted to fix my program so that I could include some of that pre-publishing stuff, like writing the right kind of book or putting the right kind of cover on it. But my main goal or my main offer with Guerrilla Publishing is that I want to help you to get a book finished and launched to #1 in 3 months. So in less than 3 months, even if you're starting with a blank page, even if you're not sure about what your book idea is, I can help you to get the right book idea, outline the right kind of book, help you to give you some accountability so you actually get the book done quickly without stalling out, and then publishing it and launching to #1, building your author platform, all in less than 3 months. This is achievable, and this is something I've helped hundreds of authors do already. But what this isn't is, it's not a complete publishing package or solution. I've been getting out of book cover design. I'm actually getting out of services altogether. So I won't do this stuff for you. I won't be publishing your book or marketing your book, but I will be working with you and teaching you how to do it yourself so that you can really quickly go over the learning curve, figure out what you need to know without making a whole bunch of mistakes, and basically get your book finished and out there. And I will give you as much feedback and support and accountability as possible, but there is, some work involved. It's difficult to finish a book and publish a book. So there's stuff that you're going to have to do on your own. So I really wanted to ask, kind of before we go any further, from 1 to 10, how determined are you? Pick a number between 1 and 10 about how determined you are to get your book out there and make it a bestseller. How much does that mean to you? What are you willing to do for it? I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible and as cheap as possible, so you won't really have to spend a bunch of money or a lot of time, but there is probably going to be some time and financial investment in other things, like if you want a really good book cover designer, or if you want to pay for professional editing or other services. Those are things that I could help you with, or other people could help you with. But I can also, you can also do it for free and make your own cover, but I might tell you, this is not really great. It might be good enough to start off with, but you might want something better later. So if you answered anything less than a 10, if you said a 9 or an 8, something like that, then this program probably isn't for you. Guerrilla Publishing is probably a little too advanced. It's for people who are really serious about making a living as a writer. I have a lot of other stuff, and I have a lot of cheaper courses and programs that I think will be really valuable for you, that you can kind of, if you're not quite sure about what you want to publish, or if you want to be an author, if you're kind of just, trying to figure some stuff out, I can recommend some other programs and some cheaper offers that I have that will kind of help you to learn the basics. Guerrilla Publishing is if you need personal feedback from me, and my time is really valuable. So I put together some stuff for you, but I'm really only interested in working with authors who are more determined about doing the work. One of the things that's really helpful to get determined about publishing your book is to think about your why. Think about, not just this book, but what does this book represent? What does it bring into your life? What kind of value are you trying to put out into the world? What's the overall meaning? So personally for me, writing another book, getting it to #1, earning a little bit of money with the book, that's not, even if my readers love it, that's not enough of an incentive to help me to finish the book. I need a bigger goal than that, a bigger goal than earnings. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is create a writing retreat. I love having authors around me. I love working on my books, but also having coffee breaks and talking about, the business, the marketing. I love being in the room with other productive authors. So that's something I really want to build into my lifestyle. We've already rented a few castles for NaNoWriMo to do writing retreats. I'm also really interested in buying something like a summer camp in the Northwest United States. If that doesn't happen, I'll be totally happy just with, a little cabin by myself writing books full time. I'm fine with just writing books for my readers and making and earning from my writing. I'm really excited. I mean, that's kind of my dream job. But I also kind of feel like if you have the opportunity or the privilege to build a platform, if you're able to build a following, then you can make serious change. So if I really want to provide more value into the world, if I want to help more authors or help more writers to publish their books, I can be doing some of that stuff, and I can also be working on my own books at the same time. So you might be the kind of author, there's kind of three kinds of authors. One is just, they want to write a couple books to give to their friends and family. It's really just for themselves. The other kind, maybe they want to write, great art, and they think they have this value, they're going to change the world, but it's all about the literature. They want the challenge of writing a great book. And the third kind is just they want to make a living. They want to write books that sell. I think all of those kind of authors can kind of be the same. I don't think you have to choose between writing craft or making an income with your writing. I think you should choose a big, exciting goal. I know that 1,000 a month, like that might not be worth it. That might not be motivating enough to get you to do the work. So if you can have a bigger, tangible, specific goal that's big enough that motivates you. So maybe, it's living somewhere or having total freedom and traveling full time, living abroad. It might be doing book signings or going to book fairs with other famous authors that you appreciate. You definitely want to set some big goals for yourself because that is really motivating. So 3 really simple questions. What does success look like to you? What do you want to get to? What do you want to do with your book? What are you trying to achieve? Really get clear about what you want out of the publishing process or what you're trying to do. Then ask yourself, why haven't you done it already? So maybe it's you don't know how to do it. You don't have the experience. You don't know how to put it all together or what to do next, or there's so much information. And that's something you can figure out with more research. But it could also be that you're just hesitating. Maybe you know how to do it, but you're just resistant, or you're hesitating because you're not comfortable yet publishing the book. You're afraid about how people are going to think about it. You're not comfortable putting it out there into the world. Or maybe you have books out there already and they're just not selling and you're not quite sure what to do to make it better. So if that's the case and you want some personal help and feedback, then you might be interested in the Guerrilla Publishing program, which is basically an online course with 4 main video modules, but it also includes some coaching and feedback from me. So that's what I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes. This might not interest everybody. And like I said, I have lots of alternative offers or free content if that's what you need. But if you want some more personal help and feedback, then this is the next step. There are 4 main modules, which are preparation, publishing, book launch, and automation. This is basically the 3 secrets. So writing a book that sells, publishing it, launching it to #1, and the automation is the extra stuff that you do after you've figured out how to publish profitably. And the idea of this course is from 0 to #1 bestseller in 90 days. This is something I figured out recently. So rather than just being a book marketing course, we're really going to focus on writing a book that's going to sell, publishing it well, and then really focusing on the launch or the marketing in the last month. This makes it really unique as a program because not only do I have a PhD in literature, but I'm also a book designer. So I can really focus on helping you over 1 and 2. Most other courses or book marketing stuff will focus on the book launch or the marketing, and they'll probably focus on stuff that actually doesn't work very well, but they won't help you overcome the core deficiencies that are really going to tank your sales. I know a lot of you may have already bought some online courses before. Maybe you don't have time to watch more videos. You don't really want to get into a whole other thing. So I tried to build in some external accountability and feedback and motivation. So it's not just about the videos. The videos are all there. They cover absolutely everything from writing to publishing to marketing your book, so that if you have any questions, there's probably a video that solves that question. There's probably a video that's just what you need when you need it. But you don't have to go through and watch the whole course to get all the value. Even if you just go through a few of the modules of the course, you'll get a really clear system for publishing that'll take away a lot of the overwhelm. So if you don't know what to do or what advice to follow. Sometimes you just need to make a choice and follow a system, because it'll save you a lot of time worrying about what's the right way to do it. There's lots of different ways to publish. I think my system is the best way to write books that sell. I want to help you to make your book as successful as possible with the least amount of time. So in addition to all the videos, and there's tons of videos in the course, there's also this bestseller bootcamp, which is a 12-week step-by-step guided email series. So basically in the workbook, which is free. Hopefully you already have a copy of the workbook. There are a whole bunch of steps. I think it's 24 different steps to launching. And you can try to figure that stuff out on your own. But if you join the course, the Guerrilla Publishing course, you'll also get this automated email series that'll kind of walk you through the steps, and it'll be clearer and more actionable. It'll tell you exactly what you need to know, so that even if you don't like go through all the videos and watch all the course, even if you just open these emails, you're already going to learn the maximum value. You're going to learn most of the stuff that I teach in the course just by opening, 2 emails a week and following the action steps. So I'm trying to get you to take simple, repeatable, easy steps a couple times a week, so that you will see a drastic improvement in your book sales or your book launch. There's also a private Facebook group, so if you have any questions about the course or questions about publishing or writing in general, it's an insider circle. I have a free Guerrilla Publishing group. Hopefully you're already a member, but there's like 5,000 or 6,000 people in there, so I don't really have time to respond to everybody. The insider circle is a really small, active community of professional writers, so the questions tend to be a little bit more informed, and we talk about higher level publishing and marketing strategies. It's also really just for emotional support, because it can be really isolating not to have anybody. If you have questions, you don't know who to ask, if you just want feedback on something, or even if you're just frustrated about something, it's really nice to have a community that can understand and respond and to listen to you. Just that little bit of extra support can really have a big difference in your motivation, your productivity over the long term. So the other thing that I'm still including is personal feedback from me. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm phasing this out. So I'm not really doing book cover design or client work anymore. Right now, the only way to get my personal feedback is with the Guerrilla Publishing program, but I'm going to be phasing that out and building something new later on. So this is basically the core offer. This is what the Guerrilla Publishing program is. Not only is it a whole bunch of videos, it's probably the most in-depth course on publishing on the market. And this is the main price of the course, but you're also going to get the 12-week bootcamp email series, lifetime access to the insider circle. So even though I say it's 3 months unlimited coaching, that's basically just to help you through one book launch whenever you need it. So even if you join but you haven't finished your book yet, maybe it takes you 6 months or a year to finish the book, that's fine. Whenever you need feedback from me, you can just get the feedback when you need it later on. But I've already learned so much about marketing and building a platform since I launched Guerrilla Publishing, and I've been working on a lot of new courses and resources, and I want to include those as well. So if you've been following my emails, if you're watching this masterclass, and if you're interested in working with me, if you think that might be interesting or valuable, I want to make sure that I give you way more value than is expected. The feedback from all the stuff that I do has been really amazing, and I know that I can help because I see results. Whenever I can help with authors one-on-one, I can usually double their sales pretty quickly, which can make a huge difference. So I want to include a few extra resources and courses, and also a few extra done-for-you personalized services. I want to basically give you as much value as I possibly can. So the first bonus is Reach Your Readers. This is my first book on book marketing I put out a couple years ago. It was $297. It's basically about building your platform. So blogging and organic visibility strategies, keyword research, SEO. It's also about publishing to some extent, but it's like a basic primer in marketing, and the stuff I talked about in book marketing is dead. So that's the first bonus down here. I'm also going to give you some book design, interior formats, and exterior book cover design templates. These are tools I've been building. I probably spent like 10 grand on a book cover design tool. It's still kind of in process. I've been building it for a long time, but I want authors to have an easy to use, easy to format DIY book cover solution. So I have some free tools out there, and I have lots of free tutorials to learn, but it's so much easier to just use my templates, especially for promo graphics or 3D graphics. I have some really great stuff you can use just to make your book look good and professional. Like I said, cover design is hugely important. So just having an expert cover designer give you some templates so that you can make sure your cover, it's avoiding the basic problems. Almost all authors fail with cover design because they do easily avoidable book design errors. They just kind of screw up their book design. So hopefully this book design bonus will help you to design your book, save some money, and make sure it's at a certain professional level. Another course I made more recently is Reader Seduction. So this is get your first 1,000 subscribers fast. Like I said, I usually focused on building your subscriber base. So originally this course was just about building your email list, but I also realized there's this whole other world of building a relationship with your readers with a really good autoresponder series. That's something I'm still experimenting with and updating, but I try to share my tips in that course so that you can learn how to use an autoresponder series or build or engagement with your platform. So it's more than just getting a whole bunch of freebie seekers on your email list, but actually turning them into real buyers and supporters and fans who will help you to review your books. Another new course I'm really excited about is going to be just focusing on how to write books that sell. So I'm basically going to boil down my nonfiction and my fiction processes, how to write more, how to increase your productivity, how to get more motivation. But also I'll give you some templates and cheat sheets and outlines and organizations. Hopefully it won't be a super long like video course, but we'll have a lot of really simple, actionable stuff you can use. Maybe you're not a plotter or you're not really comfortable with your outline. You're basically just trying to improve your craft and your writing. So that's a course I'm going to be finishing soon that will be an extra bonus if you join Guerrilla Publishing. Since I talk a lot about giveaways, I'm also going to give you my book giveaway app that I had made for authors. So it's kind of a way to use book giveaways to build an email list or get a lot of followers quickly. It works really well. I also use King Sumo a lot. King Sumo is another really good program. It costs like $300 or something. If you join, you'll get access to the Bookfetti platform, and on my WordPress site I also have King Sumo giveaways set up, so you can have access to and use King Sumos and run giveaways on the Bookfetti platform. That way you can build your email list quickly without investing in any other kind of book giveaway software. Finally, I'm also going to give you access to my next course. So this is a kind of something I've done for a while. Every time I launch a course, I double the price, and people who buy into the first course get access to the second course. So right now, if you get Guerrilla Publishing, you'll also get the 21-day author platform. This is basically going to be the next course where I put everything together, and hopefully I'll make it. I have a tend to overspeak, so a lot of my courses, they just have tons of videos and so much content. I'm going to try to make the 21-day author platform a lot more concise so that you can get through the videos faster. And the idea is you can build an author platform that's ready to launch a best-selling book in as little as 3 weeks. So instead of doing a whole bunch of other book marketing stuff, like if you finish the book and you want to launch the book in a month, or if you finish a book and you want to try to get a traditional publishing deal or an agent, it's going to be helpful to already have an author platform. So this course is going to be about next level, going bigger. Like the Guerrilla Publishing course is just about the basics, how to basically start publishing a book that earns money. But maybe you want to go to another level. Maybe you want to have a USA Today bestselling author. Maybe you want to get, on TV or on the news, or get a little bit famous, have kind of a real professional platform. That's what I'm going to focus on in this stuff. It's going to be about building and growth, like rapid growth, getting a whole bunch of followers, getting a whole bunch of visibility. I'm really excited about this course. It's going to be really awesome. But because I do think the personal help and feedback is the most valuable, the most important part, and I really want to include those on the courses that I'm promoting, I'm going to include some extra services that are kind of done for you. So an author platform audit, I'll look over your entire platform, all the books you have, whether you've published or not. If you're not ready for this, if you haven't published a book yet, that's fine. I can just do it later after you've gone through the resources and set up an author platform. But I'm also want to include an outline assessment. So if you want to basically write a book with me, you can pitch me the outline. I'll help you, whether it's for fiction or nonfiction, I'll help you to give you some feedback and structure and improve that plot or that outline to make it a stronger story. So that's one way I can have massive value for your book, by helping you to organize the content before you actually do the writing. And then I'll also help you with the blurb revision or the critique. Like I said, that's really hard to do on your own. So I'll help you to edit your sales copy into something you can use for the back cover or for the Amazon page. I'll do some keyword research for you. I'll make sure you're using the keywords that authors are using. So just by having me do this stuff for you, it's really going to save you a lot of time. Unfortunately, I really don't have time to do this for everybody, so I limit this to 10 people a month. This is an evergreen course, which means it's kind of always for sale, at least right now, although I'll probably phase it out. But I don't have time to take more than 10 clients a month and give these extra bonuses because they do take a lot of my personal time and feedback. So if you join the next 25 minutes, you'll definitely get all of these bonuses. If there's still space in a couple days, I might email everybody and say that some of these bonuses are still available, but they usually sell out pretty quickly. Most people don't really think about the opportunity cost of not getting it done. So maybe you want to write a book someday, but you don't really know what to do, or you know that you could just do it yourself, but you don't. You just don't do it. Being able to get the support and accountability and feedback that you need by buying into a program can really make a huge difference in motivation and productivity. So it's not really just about what you get and what you learn. It's also about just avoiding that, 100 hours, 1,000 hours of years of just not doing the work, of just not getting it done, and feeling, guilty or dissatisfied because you've always wanted to write a book and you never finish it. My goal with this course, Guerrilla Publishing, is just to help you to see success as quickly as possible. So you don't waste a lot of time or effort or investment or do a whole bunch of things. I see all the time people come on Facebook and they're like, I tried, I worked really hard, I spent a lot of money, but I failed, it didn't work. So I'm giving up, I'm quitting writing. I don't think you should quit writing. I think you can totally find success with your writing if you decide to. You can do it on your own if you want to, but you can do it a lot faster if you get some support and some help. I was actually charging $5,000 last year for book cover design and book marketing and stuff like that. And I had enough clients, but I really wanted to focus on my own writing. And I actually have a lot of people who just want to pay me for the book marketing, but I don't really enjoy doing it because most of the time, if they've already got their cover design, if they've already got their book done, they've probably already made some serious mistake. There's a lot of companies that will take your money, but if they screw up the book or the book cover design or the title even, they're not really going to earn a return on investment. And I don't want to charge money from anybody unless I'm sure that they're going to earn their money back. That's why, at least for right now, the Guerrilla Publishing program is still just $497. This is basically all the courses I've made, all the courses I've been working on and I am working on over the next year. Also some done for you immediate benefits like the author platform audit, the outline assessment, which I think is really exciting, and the blurb revision and critique, but also 3 months of coaching and support. Whenever you're deciding to publish or launch your book, you're probably going to have a lot of questions. Also lifetime access to the insider circle. A lot of other people, they'll limit it to like a year and then they'll close it down. I've also included a payment plan. So you could pay $497 or divide it into 12 payments of $49 each. That's about $160 a day. So if I can help you to sell one book a day, you'll have already covered the cost of this course. Spots are limited and I do already see a few people signing up. So thanks so much. I'm excited to start working with you. If you're ready to join, you can click on the button down below. You basically have 3 choices. This says Mao, I think it should say now. The first choice is just not to do anything. Sometimes we just have so much information and education, it just takes a while to sink in. So maybe it seems overwhelming and you just give up or you just don't do the work or you don't finish your book. That's what a lot of authors do, is they just have piles full of unfinished manuscripts and they never finish one real published book because they don't know who their audience is. If you don't know who your audience is, it's going to be difficult to know when the book is finished. You can also just figure all this stuff out by yourself. I have a YouTube channel with like 1.5 million views. There's tons of content on there. I have so much free content. You can definitely learn it all yourself if you study and you have hundreds of hours to kill. But if you want to do it faster and avoid most of the mistakes, then it might be helpful to join the program and get some help. So I'll tell you a story about my great uncle, and he was a logger. So half of my family, the Murphy families, they were loggers. He was a logger, and he didn't hurt his foot, logging. He was out drinking with his buddies. It was winter, so it was snow outside, and he lost a bet, or he said something like, "I'm so tough, I'm just going to walk home barefoot." So he took off his shoes and his boots, and he walked home like 2 miles in the snow, basically because to prove that he could do it, to prove he was tough enough to do it. And he survived, but he had frostbite, so he lost the use of his feet, and then he became basically a cook, I think, a chef for the camp. So he was cooking. He was also a craftsman, I believe. Anyway, my point of this story is that you can do it all on your own, but there's probably going to be consequences, probably long-term consequences that you're not even aware of, you're not even thinking about yet. So even though you could do it the hard way and you could figure it out on your own, is that really what you want to do? Is that the best for you and your book? Or would you rather be investing your time learning other things instead of learning, everything you have to learn about publishing? Maybe just focus on, improving your core strengths or focus on what you're passionate about. I do have a refund guarantee, so if for any reason I don't make you happy or you don't feel like you got what you wanted, or for any reason the course or the benefits or the materials that I provide you're not satisfied with, I'll just give you your money back. That's the easiest for both of us. It keeps things really simple. And I don't want you to have to worry about spending money on something that you're not going to use or isn't going to provide results for you. And actually, even though it's a 30-day refund guarantee, I usually stretch this out to 90 days because the course is kind of like a 90-day program. So this price is only for right now, and it's also just for the first 10 students. You can still join anytime, but you won't get all the bonuses and all the done for you personalized services because I don't have time to do more than 10 students a month. So we still have some time. There's a few spots left. So I'm just going to go through some of the common questions that I get from authors to make sure this is a good fit for you. The first one is, will it work for, people ask me, children's books or poetry books or coloring books or things like that. Yes, this will work for everything. I do have templates for all kinds of genres, fiction, nonfiction, and also specific outlines, and I can help. There's a little bit of a different marketing strategy for fiction and nonfiction specifically, but a lot of these book marketing strategies or basic online platform building stuff, building an email list, getting fans and supporters, it'll really work for any kind of genre, any kind of book, even any kind of online business. If you want to build an online side business in addition to or separate from the books that are earning their own money, that's definitely something that I can help you with. The next question is, I don't really know what to write. Maybe you have lots of different ideas or you've started a lot of manuscripts, but you don't know which one is the best one. That's something I can really help you with. I can not only do keyword research, and also I know the market, so I know what's going to be more marketable, but I really love to help you to crystallize your idea. Maybe you have this vague notion of a plot or a story, or maybe you have an idea for a nonfiction book, but you haven't nailed down the title. Maybe it's just kind of a vague impulse. I can really help you to get the right title and the brand and the platform. And I love kind of helping with the word games and figuring out the right title and subtitle or tagline. So basically helping you to take your book idea and turn it into an actual product that's going to sell. That's something I'm really excited about. That doesn't actually take a lot of my time. So we can just kind of hash out ideas and really find your best idea and turn it into a book as quickly as possible. That's something I enjoy doing. I look forward to helping you with that, even if you don't know what you want to write or you don't know who your audience is yet. You might also ask, what if I fall behind? So maybe you've taken a lot of online courses before and you don't have time to finish them. You feel guilty. You don't do the work. I don't want you to pay for something and not get value out of it. So not only, are the courses always there. This is an evergreen course, which means you can go through the videos or materials whenever you want, and you don't have to actually go through all the videos. I made a lot more videos than you need, so you can just look through them and know that they're there, so that when you have any questions, there's a video there to answer that question. I think the main value is the 12-week email series and also the personal feedback. So you basically can't fall behind because what you're paying for is a little bit of coaching and feedback. I'll just tell you what to fix and what to change, and you can see immediate results, and you'll know exactly what to do. Even if you don't watch all the videos or you don't open all my emails, I want to make sure that you get at least $4.97 worth of value immediately, and you start seeing a difference. But also, I understand that writing a book it could be a long-term project. So if you don't, maybe you join and you don't do anything for the first few months because you're just figuring some stuff out, or you're still working on your book, you haven't built your author platform yet, that's totally fine. Remember, you basically get lifetime access to the insider circle. So whenever you do need feedback on your website or whenever you have questions, we'll be there to support you. And when you're ready to, you've got the book done and you're ready to do the book design, the book marketing, the book launch and all that stuff, that's when I can start to help you with that personalized back and forth and make sure that everything is as strong as it should be. Also, I think one of the biggest pieces of value is inside the Guerrilla Publishing private insiders community in the Facebook group. We have weekly accountability. So we have weekly goal setting and weekly check-ins. We share our projects, our successes, our goals, that kind of long-term motivation just by being a part of it, just by seeing other authors who are working on things and accomplishing their goals. That can make a huge difference in productivity. This might also sound too complicated. I know that there's a lot of stuff here. I have so many different courses and stuff. Basically, you'll always have the right solution to the problem that you're going through. There's a lot of things to learn when you're publishing. If you're doing it yourself, you're gonna have to figure out a lot of stuff. Even if you're hiring a professional, you should have a base level of knowledge so you know if the professional is doing a good job or not. So you have something to compare it to. And ultimately, you need to test everything to see what works for you and what gets results. So you may have to, go around circles, test some things out, try some other things. And also remember, the most important thing is just writing a great book. If you've deliberately written a book that satisfies your readership and you know who your readers are, that alone is going to make a huge difference. And so even just getting the outline assessment down here, maybe if I just help you, give you some quick feedback on your outline and we really tighten up your story idea or your nonfiction book, you'll have a stronger product. So then if I help you out a little bit with the cover design, even with just those two things, you'll have such a huge return on your investment because you'll have a better book that satisfies your audience. So if it seems a little overwhelming, just remember you don't really have to use all of this stuff, even just to get a few pointers to help your book sell. Remember, you only have to sell one book a day, about $160 a day, to already earn back the price of this course. And I know that, people are busy and people don't always have time to watch all the videos, so I'll be active about checking in and making sure you're on task and that we're both working towards our goals. Remember, I'm a full-time writer also, so I'm always working on my own new book projects and learning new stuff about book marketing that I can share with you and the Insiders group. Another objection I hear is I hate selling. I'm really bad at it. This is something I sympathize with. I kind of feel the same way, but keep in mind, generally what people hate about selling is when they go out and have to try to sell things to strangers. That's, of course, really uncomfortable and really awkward. Everybody should be bad at that, but that's not really how you have to sell things. That's kind of why I say book marketing is dead, because that kind of stuff doesn't work. Instead, all I do is build products that have intrinsic and obvious value to my readership, and then I build relationships with my fans. So I'm not really selling my book to strangers. I give away my books for free to build a fan base, write better books, I package them really well, and then I put them in front of my fan base and they buy the books because they know that they're valuable. Also remember, I'm an introvert and I'm building a lot of evergreen funnels. So part of the reason I set up all this organic stuff is because I don't want to be doing marketing. Even advertising feels a little uncomfortable for me because I'm putting myself out in front of strangers. So I'm more comfortable with just building blog content, getting my content to show up in front of readers, and then having a totally passive, automatic email series or funnel that they can go through that leads them towards buying more books, that turns them into fans. And then whenever I have a new book launch, I can just email my list and sell a lot of copies because I'm not selling to strangers. I'm selling to a fan base. There's a huge difference. So even if you feel like, oh, I hate book marketing, I don't want to sell my book, I don't want to do any of these things, the truth is you've got to do something to sell your book. Books don't just sell themselves, but you don't have to keep doing the marketing. That's kind of the key secret behind Guerrilla Publishing. Most other book marketing courses will teach you how to market books, but then you have to always keep doing the marketing. If you build your own platform and your own email list, it's mostly building on autopilot. Like I get 100 opt-ins a day from my email list. So every time I have a new book launch, I have more readers in my platform that will buy the book. So of course, every book launch is more successful, but I don't have to do more book marketing. I can do less book marketing with every book launch because I'm building this kind of a platform. Maybe you don't have a blog or an email list yet. That's fine. If you're writing your first book, maybe you're not even sure what kind of website you need to start, or whether you should have your author name or a brand name or the book name, like what kind of domain name you should get. These are questions a lot of people have. Maybe you write fiction and nonfiction, or you do poetry and art. Maybe you're not sure how to separate those platforms or how to set it up. That's all stuff I can help you with. My main course, Reach Your Readers, goes a lot in more detail about setting up an author website. I have a lot of content about how to set up your author website and your email list. I recommend what email list providers to use, and also what kind of hosting or what kind of blog template you should use for your author website. I have a lot of content on that, and I can also just, with the author platform audit, I can just help you to set something up that's gonna work. You don't want to get that wrong. A lot of people, they don't blog because the blogs don't do anything. They don't get any traffic. They don't get any opt-ins. So if you don't do it right, then it's kind of useless to have. Like if you're going to do a bad job of it, or if you're going to have an ugly website, you might as well not have one at all. But if you do it right. I mean, my blog gets like 3,000 visitors a day, and I get about 100 opt-ins a day. So every month I have 3,000 new people on my list that know who I am and know what I do and hopefully like my books because I've given them some free books. But I don't have to work for any of that stuff. I focused on building a blog that attracts organic traffic, and now I get all that traffic and I get people on my list without doing any marketing. I can still be more targeted with Facebook ads or Amazon ads. I can still spend money on those platforms and grow much faster. I've been reluctant to do that, but that's kind of the next step, is the advertising to reach more people because it's more targeted. I mentioned earlier also, maybe you don't know what to write or you have too many ideas. That's something I'm excited to help you with the outline assessment. Also, we can talk about all this stuff is basically isolating your core topic idea, figuring out who the audience is, and then choosing the keywords or the topics that that audience is searching for. So if I can help you make some of those decisions and do some of that research, we'll have a much stronger offer. If you have a much stronger offer, it's going to be so much easier to sell without really doing a lot of, like, if you can get it in front of the audience that wants to buy it, but then it's not obvious what your book is, you still have to get them to listen to you, and you still have to talk to them and convince them about your book. If you have the right offer, it's just going to make sense to readers. They're just going to see it and they're just going to say, that's exactly what I want. I'm just going to buy that book. What most authors do too is they write 1 book and 2 books and 3 books, and they have to keep writing books until they kind of slowly figure out what their market responds to or what sells with their market. But you don't have to do the experimentation. You don't have to spend 5 years and 10 novels or nonfiction books kind of figuring out what works. You can do the research, or you can get some expert help, and you can just write a bestseller the first time if you know what kind of things are important to include. So the last question people might get is, I can't afford it. Maybe $49 a month seems too expensive. That's totally fine. I'm actually going to give you a deal too. One of my other packages is just the Epic Book Design Bundle and the Reach Your Readers course. So that's basically a $500 value. And you can get that for a one-time payment of $49. So it's 75% off. It's kind of like a little thank you for going through all my materials. It'll help you a lot on the basics if you're publishing for the first time. And that's really where I would recommend getting started. But that's not going to include all the personal help and feedback that I can give you and all of the other courses and materials. This kind of goes back to just how much you want it. This is something that, sure, you don't need to buy my course and my program. I do think it's valuable. I'm sure you'll see a lot of. So this is really something that you need to consider. If it doesn't make sense for you to join the Guerrilla Publishing program right now, I totally understand. What I'd actually like you to do is click the button and go over to the main course registration page to see all the testimonials. I think, like I told you at the beginning of the video, I'm not a very confident seller. I tend to undervalue my services, and that's why I've added so much extra value over here. But also, I can tell you, if you go over to the course registration page and you read the testimonials, and if you read them over, I think the main takeaways they kind of keep repeating is they're blown away by the amount of value and information in the course, because there's so much more in this course than in any other course on marketing out there, but also how much time and feedback I give and work with students one-on-one. Like I said, I always want to make sure you're getting value out of the course. And because I spend so much time with my students, that's actually why the price is going to be going up to $997 by the end of the year, and then to like $3,000 by next year. So this is actually the lowest price that you'll have to work with me directly. And later on, it's going to cost quite a bit more. Recently, I went to a conference and there was the option of doing your own private meetup. And at first, I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. I kind of just wanted to go and socialize. I didn't really want to teach or be on stage. But I finally decided to put together a little publishing workshop in the park. I had about 20 people there out of this conference. And one of the women afterwards, she told me this 20 minutes basically paid for my whole trip. So this conference was not a cheap conference. It was in Portland, so a lot of people had to travel to get there. And this wasn't even like a main stage presentation or workshop or anything. It was just, me sitting on the ground in the park downtown talking about books. But I talk so much about books and value and specific details, like this is exactly how you should do your entire book marketing plan. Having that kind of feedback with me one-on-one was so valuable that she said that, you know, that 20 minutes in the park, this informal little conversation, this chat, was worth everything she paid for the whole weekend, travel and conference and everything. That's really exciting to hear. I love talking about books one-on-one with people. I get really excited about writing and publishing. I love hanging out with other authors, but there's only one of me. So the courses that I make are basically to try to help you to learn all this stuff without needing my feedback. But on the other hand, I also am starting to understand that there's no alternative to personal feedback. Nobody can do what I can do in my mind to help you to fix your ideas, solve the problems, and turn your book into a bestseller. I have a lot of creative ideas that really might be case specific. Even though a lot of these strategies are going to work, I also know that, you know, if I think about it for 10 minutes, I might be able to provide you with a better solution than you could do on your own. And sometimes just getting that one idea, sometimes just that perfect idea is the most important thing, especially for nonfiction with titles and subtitles, which are really important. But even for a novel or fiction, if I can help you to get that one big idea, which turns your book into from a mediocre read into like a, wow, this book changed my life type of book. If I can give you those kind of solutions and you can work with me directly, I'm really excited about that. That's how I want to help you. That's what I feel is the most value that I can provide. So if you do want to talk about books and get my feedback and some personal help on your project, I'd love to know what you're working on. You can click the button and join the Guerrilla Publishing program if that makes sense for you. If you don't feel like you're ready for that yet and you really want to do more and take control of your publishing, I recommend the DIY book design package, which includes the Reach Your Readers course, and I'm going to give you a 75% off deal on that package just for watching this whole webinar. I'm also going to keep sending you a few more helpful emails. Some of the more detailed stuff we haven't really talked about yet, like setting up your email list or website. Even if you don't buy anything from me, I have a lot of recommendations and tutorials that'll help you to set that stuff up on your own and save a lot of time and money. Don't forget, you should also join the Guerrilla Publishing Facebook group, which is the free one, where you can ask me any questions about the course or any questions about writing or publishing or marketing. You can post feedback in that public group. And sometimes you can get feedback on your cover or your blurb, and there's a lot of authors in there, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 authors. So there's a lot of people who can give you really good feedback, and you can learn a lot just from participating in that free group. If you have any extra questions about this course or about working with me directly that didn't come up in this video, you can just send me an email and let me know what you're concerned or worried about. Otherwise, I hope your journey is a magical adventure, and I hope that our paths cross sometime in the future, and maybe we can sit down and have coffee and talk about books somewhere in the world.